Well, we love featuring artists you should know about. Today, we're heading to Texas to chat with singer-songwriter Jeremy Parsons. Jeremy's been rocking stages for over 15 years. One of the hardest-working independent artists out there. His latest single, The Garden, comes out on August 30th. We're stoked to have him back on the show. Jeremy Parsons. First, Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, you were on for your last release. Life Worth Dying For.
Absolutely.
And wow,
yes, sir.
Congrats. You crushed that song. You have over 194,000 plays on Spotify for that thing.
Yeah, it did really well. You know, you put out a new song and you're like, well, I hope somebody likes this. But that's it's a kind of best case scenario for me, especially as an independent artist, to see something like, kind of take off like that, and people really attach themselves to it. Like, it's still getting added to playlists, and that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see that longevity and new people always finding the song, you know?
Yeah, and who did the music video? This is sweet.
So the music video is done by my friend. I think he's in Ecuador, actually. I met him through Fiverr, which is like a website where people get, like, you can assign people do different tasks and stuff, and I was looking for I wanted to do animated music videos because we started making all these during the pandemic and stuff, and we weren't, I'd lost my cameraman and everything, so it's I was looking for something, and I've always liked animations, so I reached out and I found this dude, and I've been using him ever since. I used him on the first single, Tickin', Humanity, and then he did Life Worth Dying For, and he also made a music video for The Garden, which will be out as well.
Huh. Incredible. It's so crazy how the world has just shrunk because of the internet. And I talked to so many artists, and yeah, most of them, like, their cover art or like your music videos done by somebody completely out of the country that you probably never even met. Right.
Yeah, my sister actually does my cover art.
Yeah. We'll mention her, but man, it's so crazy. I was listening to our last interview. Your journey has just been insane, Jeremy. I mean, you started out in Nashville as like a classic country guy. You had the coat, the rhinestones, the cowboy hat, the black guitar. You were crushing it. I mean, you were opening for George Jones, Chet Atkins, but you weren't happy. Tell us about this.
Yeah, it became like this. It was, and I loved it. Like, I grew up on that stuff. Like, it was my dad raised me on it, like we talked about last time. It was, I thought it was everything. And but you get into the industry and you hear a lot of things about it. You see it in movies and TV shows, but when you're in it, you get around certain personalities. There's this bitterness that you just can't wash off of you.
Yeah.
And people collect it. You choose to hold on to it, and especially with some of the, I'm not going to name any names, but with the older acts that I was on the road with and sharing tour buses with and festival lineups with, and planes over to Norway with, like, you're spending too much time with that person and that feeling that they've collected for way too long, and you realize that it's because they decided to stubbornly stay where they were instead of maybe following wherever the music may take you, because that's how we got there in the first place. Yep. It's like we were following the breadcrumbs, the creative breadcrumbs, so to speak, and so many people they fight that. If there's resistance to their sound or their songs or their music, they don't veer away from it. They just, like, hold up their shield and to keep plummeting headfirst into the army that's fighting them, and you're not going to win. It's like, but if the art, and if that's where your art is, stay in that lane. That's fine. If that's what you want to make. But if you're not happy, there's probably something else out there for you. If you're an actual artist, like, you just got to follow the breadcrumbs, because that's a sign that they're trying to lead you somewhere new. If it's not working, if it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is, fix it.
Well, I think some of it, I mean, like you kind of alluded to, some of these older artists, they act like they like the young kids, but then they don't really like you because you might be taking their spot, or they don't want to give up their spot.
Right, you threaten. You're like a headhunter for their position, and I think that's like. And to us, we're just like, these guys are like the country music gods. Like we don't see it like that. We're just grateful to be in their presence, and then you start getting that attitude thrown your way, and then you're like, well, I don't need this. Like I didn't. I felt lucky to be here, but I don't want to be anywhere that people don't want me to be. It's like I can go. There's places you can go where people want you to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you go to Spotify, you can go check out his album "Doggone This Feeling" from back in 2010 and get some of his classic country. So, when you got out of it, how long did it take you to rebound and start again?
Oh, it was a struggle. I think it was probably 4 to 5 years before I started making a new album, and that's not only because of the music side of things. Like in town, I was still like I was writing. Like I had a publishing deal. Like so, I got signed to a publishing deal and was doing all the stuff that you think you're supposed to do in Nashville, and it was good. I was making my money, but there was also a lot of family stuff going on. Like my parents got divorced in the process, and that actually sparked the creation of my second record. The whole second record is written as a therapeutic journey for me through my parents' divorce and processing it. Like they were married for 48 years, so it's like it was just weird for everybody. And luckily I had music to help get me through it. But it was but like with all that, life stuff happens in the transition. Like I didn't know what to do. Like I thought everybody was going to hate me if I like did something different, and some people did not like it. Like that, it was exactly what I thought. Some people did not like it, and that's expected. Nobody has to like it. That's the thing. But like if you start making something and you're like, oh, I think I'm falling in love with this. Like I think this is right. Like I said, if it feels right, that's probably what you should be doing. Yeah.
So that's Things I Need to Say.
Right. Yeah, that's Things I Need to Say.
Yeah. Well, you can tell because Burn This House Down, Life, Hope, Purpose. Just by looking at the song titles.
Right. People call it my dark record.
Yeah.
I was like, man, it was a process.
Exactly. I had to work through some stuff. And that's what was coming out of you. And it's so funny. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. Congratulations. You just won the Los Angeles Wire Breakthrough Artist at the 2024 New Music Awards. You finally broke through, Jeremy. Way to go.
I did. It's always, I always think of that. Like, it's funny because I remember years ago, like, 10 years ago at this point, Jack Ingram won Breakthrough Artist at, like, the CMT Awards, and he'd been, like, playing in Texas for 20 years. And we were all just like laughing. Like I was like, that's it. He even the way that he accepted the award, you could tell he was like, because he won it. It was like there's this like 30 plus 40-year-old man up there, and he's like winning it over these children essentially. So it's just like, no, thank you. Yeah, that was very cool. Unexpected too. I don't think I even knew that I was in the running. If I'm being honest, my nose is so close to the grindstone often that like that stuff will kind of fly by me. Like someone will be like, "Hey man, I submitted you," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you so much," and then I just forget about it for a couple months. But like that was a really nice, especially with all the other names that were on there. Like it's just,
it's cool.
They're giants, compared to me. I that's at least how I see it, but. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it's always nice to get an award. But yeah, I love it. I'm in this International Singer-Songwriters Association, and their awards are coming up. And there's a couple of guys that are like emerging artists, and they've been in the business for 30 years. It's just like, oh, okay, now you're emerging. Now you finally done it. But it's funny. But
it's a weird gig. Like it's almost like you're a planted seed, and sometimes you take a while to dig out of the dirt. Yeah. It's just like everything grows at its own pace and differently, and especially it's ever changing field, man. I mean, you know how it is, like with digital and everything. You fight the wave and try to like climb up to the surface and find a way to ride it, but it's still like ever changing. You know, even the Spotify algorithm is you can't nail it down. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. Another thing that Jeremy's up for, we've had a few people on the show recently that are in it. It's this America's Next Top Hit Maker. You got like 2 days remaining to vote. Jeremy's in third right now, so get him to number one. If you go to his Facebook page, Jeremy Parsons Music, if you just go look him up, scroll down a little bit, you can go on to America's Next Top Hit Maker and hit the link and go vote for him. It's free if you vote once. If you want to vote more times than that, you can help him out as well. But there's only 2 days remaining in that, so we'll see what happens there. But why San Antonio? Why do you live in San Antonio?
Well, it's where I'm from originally, and it's where my dad is, and he's kind of my dude, and that he started, you know, getting sick and falling and stuff, and so I kind of made the pilgrimage back home to take care of him, because he's always supported me. And the cool thing about the location is that I can, you know, it's Texas, and you know, like I said, I'm from here, and I can go anywhere in the state, and stay busy. You know, it's I have, you know, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I have 20 plus shows a month down here. I can support myself. I can support him. You know, I'm close to all my family. And you know, Nashville was one of those things that it was like when I first moved there, I honestly gave myself 6 to 8 months. I didn't know if I was going to last more than 6 to 8 months, and I ended up lasting 10 years.
Wow.
and then it just started. It started to be one of those places that didn't feel like home anymore. Because I honestly thought when I was about 5 or 6 years in that I thought that was going to be the place that I lived and died. But then I started coming back to Texas and playing shows, and every time I crossed the state line, I just got that gut feeling. I was like, it was like, this is where you're supposed to be, dude. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But you know, it's life was screaming at me, so I came back, and you know, it's nice down here. I'm comfortable. It's, you know, I get to be close to him. Like, should anything happen, like he like fairly recently got diagnosed with lymphoma, so like I'm taking him to chemo on the weekdays, and you know, doing my thing on the weekends, and you know, if I wasn't here for that, it would be eating at me. So It's like I'm in the right place, and you know, the shows keep coming, and the music keeps coming out, and you know, it's everything's flowing. So I think, you know, it's like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know.
Yeah, for sure. And your sound, how would you describe your sound to people?
The new stuff we're putting out? I have no clue.
I don't either.
Man, it's always funny when I read the reviews. They're like, Jeremy mixes Americana with electronica and stuff like that. And I was like, so that's the electronic side is my producer. Dustin Martin, who was like, he lived in L.A. We actually met in Nashville. He engineered the Things I Need to Say record, and then helped mix the Things to Come record. So we've been friends for like, God, probably closing in on 10 years at this point. And he moved back he was out in L.A. like during the pandemic, and he was like, dude, I'm thinking about getting out of here, and he was passing through Texas. I was like, pick me up, dude, I'll help you move back. So we moved him back to Longview, and in that process, we just started working on this stuff. He was like, let's jam it and see if anything works. And I was like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not doing anything, you know? And it just, we started doing this stuff, and it was like I said earlier, that feeling arose when we made it. He was like, is this too weird? And I was like, I don't know, let's just keep going and see what happens. And it keeps working. It kept working, and his sound and my lyrics, for some reason, like we can't put a pin on what to call it. Yeah. But like with my voice, it's still essentially Americana. Yeah. With his production, it ventures into this very almost theatrical world.
Yeah.
But it's great. It drives. It always gets every song is emotionally exactly how it should be, whether like people are thrown by the music or not. Like emotionally, everything matches up, and that's always what I'm listening and feeling for. Is like if that emotionality syncs together, and the second it doesn't, you have to go back and rework everything and reprocess that. But for the moment, like the delivery of "Life Worth Dying For" was like, it drove the point home. And then the garden is like, it's got this it's got this heavy backbeat and stuff, but you can get lost in it, and it almost becomes like meditative. It's like, what am I doing to nurture myself? What am I doing to grow myself? Like, I love it. But as far as how to like exactly pin it down, like, man, I'm still still waiting for that inspiration to find me.
Yeah, if anyone has a guess or let us know. But yeah, go check out Jeremy. He's at JeremyParsonsMusic.com. He's on Instagram, Facebook. His latest single, "The Garden," comes out on August 30th. Yeah, you mentioned it. We were talking about it before we came on the air. You're shooting for 20 gigs a month. I mean, you're staying very busy. What do your shows consist of? Is it your stuff, covers, everything? We read the crowd? What do we do?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like if it's mainly a read the crowd deal, because that's, to be honest, like that's who we're there for. So like if you want to hear originals, I will play you a full show of originals. And it usually depends on the length of the show too, but like I always try to throw in some covers for people. Like, it makes people feel comfortable more immediately, like hearing something that they're familiar with. Like open up with like "Running Down a Dream" by Tom Petty. Yeah. And then veer into like "Burn This House Down," and gauge it from there. Maybe I jump back to like a Pat Green song for the Texas country crowd, and then go back to Jeremy Parsons original. And I play stuff from like the first record. Like obviously it's changed. My voice is different now. Just specifically because I'm older, but someone played a song for me from that the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot what I sounded like when I was like, because I was right at 21 when we made that. So, but yeah, no, it's a vast array, like, and sometimes you get requests and people are trying to mess with you and test you, and I will play those songs. I will give you like a very unique version of a Pink Floyd song that I've never heard in my entire life. It's just, wow. Because like I said, I'm there for the crowd, so I will absolutely make a fool of myself if I have to.
Because with all these gigs, how many songs are in your songbook? How many songs do we know?
Oh, thousands. At this point, it's thousands. Like it's I don't even know what I know at this point. That's how many songs are in there.
Wow. You've been doing the single route. When we talked last time, you said an EP was coming. What are we thinking now?
Yeah, well, no, that's still the case. We're doing everything as a single, and then when every single's out, the EP is out. So like when the last single lands, the EP will show up on Spotify. That's just that. So and then we'll move on to the next EP. But we're doing it single by single. So basically, every EP, like no EP, will just drop. It'll be just out with the last single. Essentially, it just combined as a package digitally.
Yeah. And it's a singles world, so there's no reason to drop an EP anymore.
Right. Yeah, we talked about it. Like for the last record, it was slightly different. But I did 3 singles and then drop the record out with the third. But in this market, like especially if I'm doing an EP that's going to be like 5 to 6 songs anyway, like we'll just put them out one by one. And it was hard enough to pick which songs would be on the EP anyway. So it was, it's like there's so many songs that were written in that time frame and still are being written that it's, we're like, oh, we could plug this in here. So that's really fun though. I love all that stuff. It's the tedious little things that other people usually handle, but like I enjoy it. But yeah, no, so it's all singles and then an EP will drop and then all singles EP. So like you said, it's a singles market. So it just seemed like the way to go.
Yeah. Well, "In the Garden" comes out on August 30th. This is a cool song. And it's got a cool backstory. Your dad was a horticulturist. You grew up in the garden, but you didn't appreciate it then, I mean, like most kids. Now you do. Tell us about this song.
So that's exactly right. Like, you take it for granted, like what you're getting. Like other, some people don't really even get to see their parents that much, but my dad was dragging me out to like play in the dirt, which I was probably going to do anyway, So it was at the time, you're just moaning and complaining about it. But then, as I got into my later teens, earlier 20s, I was like, oh, I get it. I totally get it now. Like, and then, like, I have all these plants on the back porch, and I'm about to get my fall tomatoes in. Like, I get it. Like, I'm taking care of my babies. Like, you get to nurture them and watch them grow, and they feed you back. It's this very cool thing, and he instilled that in me. But what I always liked about him was he made it your choice. He never forced anything on you. He just always like put you in the spot and let you figure it out. And so that was always cool. But yeah, so I was sitting when I was in Nashville is when this song first came to life, and I was in my kitchen, which like faced like my neighbor's backyard. The kitchen window did. And I was sitting there and I was strumming this chord structure, and I look up and my neighbor Brielle just like walked by the window, and she's got her gloves, she's got her like little shovel, she's got her gardening hat, like the whole 9 yards. And they had this cool, and I don't know if it was there before they got there and she just like took it over or what the deal was. I can't really remember, but like she would always go out there just like work in this garden, and I always wondered like what was the backstory. I was like, oh, did the dude just like break her heart? Like, is she processing something, or is this just like she just like annoyed by her roommates and needed to get out of the house? Like, what's the deal here? So that's kind of how the song came about, and it was like I always love when they happen that way, because that's usually how they happen. You're sitting there and your mind is just like swirling with all these like, what if, so is this what's going on? And then boom, the song is just there. So the multiple combination of, my backstory in that situation, it's all just kind of fun, especially when it comes to like promoting it and getting to tell the stories. You get like excited about it all over again,
Yeah. Well, and that's cool that this song's been in the back of your mind for quite a while, or way back in your Nashville days.
Oh yeah, I've been playing it at a live show for years. That's what's cool for some people, is they get to hear they've heard this acoustic for like so long, and then now they're getting like this version, and then maybe I'll also release an acoustic version of some of these songs at some point too, just to give people the best of both worlds. Not that we're not going to have enough content already, but like. I like giving people both sides of the coin,
Yeah, The Garden comes out on August 30th. You're going to hear it here in a second. You mentioned your little sister, Skylar. She's still doing your cover art.
She is, diligently. And I'm always like, what's crazy about it is every first draft she sends me is always what y'all end up seeing. Like, she's so good.
Wow.
She's very thoughtful. Like, I always send her the tracks, like whenever we're working on them and I get a new mix, I'll send it to her so she can draw to it, just for like inspiration and stuff. And she just always does. The colors are always she's fantastic, and she's agreed to do all of the single artwork. I told her, I was like, you realize this is going to be like close to 30 songs, if not more. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, all right. All right.
Get ready.
Yeah, she's 4 for 4 so far, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, she's crushing it. And The Gardens is awesome. What's with the eyes at the top?
So the eyes are from they came over from Life Worth Dying For.
Okay.
Yeah, she just did that. Like I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, if you look at the cover, go back and look at the cover artwork for Life Worth Dying For, and there's like three floating eyes. Yeah. So she brought those over from the like as if like they were converting into the sun, so to speak, and then the garden is like it almost feels like she's bringing us through different realms with each card, you know? I haven't really asked her. I probably should, but like it kind of feels that way.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, and connecting it all together, and they look kind of like tarot cards a little bit, and it's
right. Yeah, so it'll be every EP will be like that. It'll in the full length EP cover will be like the deck laid out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's very cool.
Yeah, she crushes them, that's for sure. Go and check Jeremy out. He's at JeremyParsonsMusic.com. He's on Instagram, Facebook, X. His latest single, The Garden, comes out on August 30th. So what are we going to do, Jeremy? Are we going to keep gigging until we die? I mean, what are we thinking in the next few years?
I think that's the plan. That's it. That's the plan that I had. I hadn't got any more detail. Like I don't have a death date set or anything. You know, I'm sure I'll post that on Bands and Pound too. But that's the plan. The goal is always just try to keep getting more and more people out to shows. Like get bigger shows, like play more places. Like right now, with Dad's stuff, I'm kind of landlocked to Texas. But the plan is to like get back out of state. I'd love to come to Wyoming. Like I've got people that want to see me again in North Carolina, Virginia. Some parts of Tennessee, like Knoxville, and I also want to make it out west. I have listeners and stuff in Seattle and up that way in West Coast area, and I'd love to make it out there too. So I have plans to expand. I just need to get through some other stuff down here, and then I plan to get to work on that. But do it till I die is definitely the plan.
Yeah. Well, and tons more coming from Jeremy Parsons. Go and follow him, and go and check him out on Spotify. All of his music on there. The Garden comes out on August 30th, and you can pre-save it also right now. So go and pre-save it and help him out. JeremyParsonsMusic.com. Well, Jeremy, always a pleasure chatting with you.
Absolutely, my friend. Until next time, and thank you so much again for having me. I always have a blast.
Here it is, The Garden. It's Jeremy Parsons. KIX 96.5.